the early years of building a library, we were taught to collect books on English law. Halsbury, History of English Law, Blackstone's Commentaries. So you begin to stack your library with all those. A lawyer without those books is not held in high esteem. You go to good old barristers with their libraries you find in Allahabad, Calcutta, Madras. So these are the kind of books. So I started collecting many of them. But I think a couple of years ago, my library with the shelves along those books began to have a second stage in my reading list. And obviously, when Judge like Chief Justice Chandrachud was asking you to keep your printed papers and cyclostyle papers aside and look at the new emerging systems of interaction with human beings, there was no other option but to move towards literature on artificial intelligence. And to say my good part of my library today has a lot of books on artificial intelligence, not because I am young enough to understand and comprehend them, like many of you here, but the yearning of any mind, the inquiring mind, to look at whatever possible that a human beings can create to make the world a better place to live. I think all of us are looking for that. And I should congratulate Anshul and Bits Pilani. A few more personal anecdotes. Just after I finished my graduation in physics, I was trying to get into an engineering institute, and Bits Pilani was one of them. But I could not get my admission at that point of time. And never I did thought that at some point of time later, about 40, 50 years later, I'd be talking to the institution, hosting an important event like this. Thanks to Bits Pilani for calling me today. And talking about complexity, I think is our favorite engagement. Can you be goodbye to this pastime? Justice Chandrachud was talking about Babita Punia's case. I mean, to complete my lighter side anecdotes. So on one of those occasions when we had 2 or 3 cases where female officers were having very legitimate claims about promotional opportunities and careers in the armed forces. So I asked one of my juniors to peep into various judgments of Chief Justice Chandrachud and tell me what are the probabilities that I can probably have a case against his mind or thinking thought process. I did not get much answer in my favor. And what was that? It was through a ChatGPT process one of my juniors worked. But then I did not know about ChatGPT before that. And then it was at a time when the Attorney General has to do a lot of speech making in farewell, occasionally SCBA farewells and then welcoming judges. So I asked my same junior to get me some good, information data on a retiring judge. So he came with a 4-page printout on retiring judge. I said, no, this will not do. I think something better. Then I asked him, where did he get from? He said, ChatGPT. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it my own way, where my mind understands what the judge has been. So I've done about more than 25 farewell speeches now, all of them through my own understanding of what a judge or a judgment means to a human being. By this I do not mean that we have no place in our universe of thinking for artificial intelligence. Having said that, one of the most intriguing subjects for a lawyer and a judge is truth discovery. How do you discover truth? We have a hierarchy of courts. And then you find after 3 or 4 appellate processes, a trial court view is affirmed with the Supreme Court. Maybe a 5-judge bench after too many dialogues within the Supreme Court. I mean, how does it really happen that in the hierarchy of courts, truth discovery suffers either this multitude of views, and how does the truth discovery really happen? I think we are probably entering into a new understanding of how can we profitably discover truth without those too many casualties in the process of hierarchy of courts. I do not know whether artificial intelligence can help us in a big way in this process. If after all true discovery is fundamental to doing justice and nothing beyond that, and how do we articulate this new artificial intelligence engagement in truth discovery? That's where you talk about, I was reading books on sentencing in using artificial intelligence sentencing discretion. So we talk about bias, etc. I'm not going to talk about all that now, but I thought there are some of those areas where the new emerging machine age with all its multiple facets and dimensions can make human life better. If it can make human life better, then I think we vote in favor of that. So perhaps the palette created by Anshul is not a palette of M. F. Hussain or Picasso or Van Gogh. It's something very different. And I hope it's going to be very different in times to come. Having said that, I have some more very fundamental thoughts, a little away from the young dean was talking about, and the dean of deans, Chief Justice Chandrachud was talking about. Let me take your permission to reflect on these issues. From the motions towards placing all obligations and measures on state and governments, whether in the field of economics or in the field of justice, we are beginning to talk about decentralization. It would be an interesting search to connect all freedoms to freedom of the human capacity and extent to satisfy or fulfill human needs. The idea of a free market is a limited edition of this free human capacity. In the very nature of understanding human creativity and the relentless drive for innovation, we realize that freedoms must be guided by freedom from within and the high ethical instincts and not by external dictations. It does not matter that a centralized authority as an enlightened political party can claim to possess non-partisan knowledge or ideals. It seems we have traveled rather deeply into this exciting world of all freedoms. Our journey has been made possible by the tools of technology. In contemporary times, the silicon chip has become the new gold, though as we are reminded that it is business models and data proliferation that have turned silicon into gold. If you are to talk about the journey from steel to silicon, we must talk about how the fate of nations now turns on their ability to harness computing power. Who can say they disagree with the thought that semiconductors have defined the world we live in and the structures of world economy? It is in the midst of these irreversible wheels of history that we are talking about artificial intelligence as a species of smart technologies. If business plays knowledge in the driving force behind this, we need to have some governing theory. As I said, our motions away from state-centric engagements are also motions towards decentralized autonomous organizations to occupy the role of governance measures. The role of law and justice dispensation systems will have to necessarily expose themselves to these changes. Otherwise, we will be mechanically pursuing the brick and mortar of worn-out strength. The adversarial system is already like the leaning tower of Pisa, leaning rapidly towards its failures. The idea of a palette center is to be seen as one of the ideas to transform data and technology into justice delivery tools beyond business models. It is an ambitious idea. A technology university such as BITS, no doubt, can dream of becoming a laboratory of such an idea. If law schools must become R&D laboratories, they must do so going beyond serving mere trader commerce or conventional time and cost hungry systems. We need to create a compact of knowledge systems where law meets technology and technology informs law. From a knowledge focus on narrow, crowded corridors or preoccupation with adversarial system, we need to create a justice vision for the next 25 years, where the focus will not be on promoting, I repeat, on promoting ego centers of professional individuals. That's what we are today. Our bar is what we are today. So ego centers are professional individuals, but collectives of people in search of solutions to justice claims. Can we have a collective of people who can be partners in promoting solution to justice claims? We have different sections of community with the different justice needs. As long as equality is an elusive ideal, we will have the different justice needs. So the adversarial system perhaps cannot march ahead with the ever-increasing demands of justice needs of different sections of the community. We don't have any model along the world where we can copy it mechanically, because I think every part of the world is suffering from the same ills and the same issues and challenges. Good, it is so, because somebody India can say, look here, we would probably occupy this unoccupied space which the world has not been able to occupy so far. So as we move into a demanding dialogues on technology and law, innovation and ethics, it appears we are called upon to open new thoughts on the frontiers of human condition itself in general. The human mind wears dual hats. It is both like a jumping monkey and a mediating saint. Not knowing and knowing. Who else but the legal fraternity entrusted with the task of articulating ethics through law is best fitted to work on knowing technology for the common good and the technology of human rights, where utilitarianism and altruism may merge, where accountabilities and enforcements may demand new institutions beyond courts and adversarial system. If pilot can be one such compact, we will welcome it with a great ovation, and certainly with the young minds around here, I would like to greatly applaud this innovation. Let me congratulate Pandey and Beats once again for engaging into this very, very demanding need of the Indian community. And probably, as I said in the beginning, 3 years ago when the Attorney General, somebody rightly said it's not going to displace lawyers, but somewhere you have a lurking doubt about that, in the lighter sense again. So perhaps instead of one Attorney General for India, every ministry, every department will have artificial intelligence centers who can deliver opinions for each ministry and department, so that we have only artificial intelligence generals of India instead of one Attorney General for India. So I suppose in that way the Attorney General will continue to be a position in the Constitution of India. So, but that's on the lighter side. But I think when I entered this position, I began to encounter this problem. So how do we really work on a foundation where the demands of ethics and accountability from a high office like this can be delivered with expedition and neutrality, and without being biased by, because all of us, I have a bias in favor of, for instance, when I began my career in the Supreme Court, I've done a lot of work for the deprived sections of the community, having been associated with the Free Legal Aid Center for more than 10 years. So I have a certain bias. I remember one of those cases where a sitting judge of the Supreme Court in the Narmada dispute, river dispute matter, one of the early cases, was appearing for the displaced sections. Then the counsel for the state was saying that look at what the petitioners are interfering with the due process of what the government is trying to do. And there was a report given by a commission of inquiry appointed by the court, and they said this is a biased report. The learned judge said the bias was a right bias, and that's how it ought to be. So we're looking for right biases, but then who will sit in judgment over a bias is right or good or bad? So I do not know whether intelligence systems such as artificial intelligence can probably encounter, engage, and provide solution to this problem. They are very important concerns. So thank you for calling me here today. It's a great pleasure to listen to Chief Justice Chandrachud, as always. As I said, he's the Dean of Deans, and his quote was always a classroom. He's not a teacher only now. So thank you for calling me again here, and I'm sure if there is an opening in this center for me to be registered as a student, I would like to welcome that. Thank you so much.